Hi, cat. Come and get some mango, baby.
One, two, 1, 2, 3. Self-awareness is a superpower. My name is KathyLaDonna. Welcome to Soul and Vibration. I hope the free thinkers are doing well. And if you're not doing well, I'm happy to remind you that you are the most powerful person that you know. You are the most powerful person that you know because only you can create your reality. Hey guys, today is Thursday, January 2nd, and the energies in the day adds up and reduce to number 3 vibration. If today is your birthday, happy birthday. The spirit guidance for today is the crocodile energy. And when I glanced over to see that the energies in the day add up to number 3 vibration, whenever I see the number 3 energy, I always think of new beginnings. I think of expression. I think of creativity, but I also think of the impulsive aspect of it. And with the crocodile energy coming out as the spirit guidance, the spirit medicine, the balance that will be beneficial when it comes to today's energy. The crocodile brings me to preparation and patience. Preparation and patience are 2 things that's coming to mind when I look at the crocodile energy. I think of the example that always comes to mind for me is watching a movie and 2 people agree to meet and one person is more clever than the other, so they decide to stake out the meet, show up early, and make sure everything is what it's supposed to be so there's no surprises. So when I think about that in my personal life on a day-to-day basis, on a day like today, this energy would bring me to not getting too excited to where you don't check something. Don't get too excited to the point where you assume that something is the way how it's supposed to be. What's coming to mind is, say you're at work and it's your responsibility to complete a certain assignment, but you and a coworker agree to switch positions or make some kind of a switch or something to that extent. And intuitively, you know to go and check. Even though you guys made a switch or whatnot, it's not on paper that you made a switch. So if they don't complete what they're supposed to do, you're going to be held accountable for it. And intuitively, something says, go and check and make sure everything is on the up and up. But you assume that they should know to do what they said, and you're right to assume that. But at the same time, if you're going to be the one held accountable, then you should go check. You should go check. This brings me to a thought, a conversation that I was overhearing where someone took on a new managerial position. And with their position, they're in charge and responsible for the people that work within that area that they're responsible for. And when they first took on the position, they ran into issues because they would delegate and tell everybody what they're supposed to do, but then they would get in trouble by their boss or whoever is over them because the work wasn't completed. And the person, felt like, well, I told them what to do, so it's not my fault. But in my mind, I feel like you told them what to do, but you also have a responsibility to go and make sure it's done. And if it's not, then you're in trouble. I remember being in the salon, and me and an assistant that I had, we had a misunderstanding because when I had my salon, for me, my assistant was like the boss over everything. And even though there were other stylists in the salon that were their own bosses renting a booth, it was my assistant's responsibility to make sure that everyone does what they're supposed to. And if they don't do it, then she has to do it. An example might be, a stylist leaves a bunch of brushes and things in the sink and forget to wash it. It's the assistant's job to go let them know, hey, don't forget this. Or, it's the assistant's job to clean it up. So when it comes to today's energy, it brings me to not assume and to be prepared, be organized, but just not assume is what I'm getting. Because I remember in the salon when, at the end of the day, I'm getting ready to go home because my assistant would leave earlier because, I would work late into the night. Like I was like a workaholic. I would get there like 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock some days, and it's 11 o'clock that I'm leaving on average most nights. And I would have Sunday and Mondays off. That would be my only time off. And I did that for like 4 or 5 years. But at the end of the night, I'll go and notice that there are brushes and stuff in the sink, and I'm calling my assistant like, hey, what's this? And they're like, oh, so-and-so left them there. And I'm like, okay, well, next time, let them know that they have to clean that up, because my assistant sees what I can't see. Because when I walk into the salon, I pretty much stand at my station and my assistant prepare clients. So I stand at my station and my assistant send them down, and I just, do them, send them out, do them, send them out, do them, send them out. So I'll stand at my station all day and probably just, take 1 or 2, 3 breaks to go to the bathroom, come back and stand there. So I'm not seeing everything that's happening. So when it comes to me saying all that, I'm saying all that to say something that someone should know to do, but you're meant to make sure it gets done or meant to overlook it, could not get done, and the responsibility of it falls on you. And you might say, but it wasn't my fault. But at the same time, it's your responsibility to get it done, is what I'm getting from today. Like, it's your responsibility, but you have a right to feel like they should have done what they're supposed to do, but you're supposed to double check. I hope that's making sense for someone here, because that's what I'm getting. And hopefully it doesn't have to get to the point where the responsibility or something is left on you. Hopefully it doesn't get to the point where something is left on you. I'm seeing a situation where, say someone here co-signed for something for someone, did something for someone to that effect. And it's like, as adults, as responsible people, you would hope that someone would keep up their end. You would hope that you don't have to babysit, but you do. And that's what I'm getting with today's energy. There's something that feels almost like babysitting, or if you don't do the babysitting of a thing, if you don't take the proper time to make sure something goes the way it's supposed to go, if you don't take the time to check in on a thing or be patient with the approach to a thing, then you're going to be left with unnecessary responsibilities. That's just what I'm getting when it comes to today's energy, because there's something exciting about today where it's so easy to get distracted by other things. It's so easy to get pulled in other direction, focusing on things that are just not that important, but they might feel important. Hey guys, I want to share with you 7 benefits of getting a numerology natal chart awareness coaching session. The first one is understanding your internal programming. The second one is becoming more clear about your purpose and passion. The third is setting goals for success. The fourth is awareness of strength and areas of improvement. And the fourth one was foundational for me, because whenever you're aware of your weaknesses, no one can use them against you. And when you're aware of your strengths, that makes you unstoppable. And that is why I say self-awareness is a superpower. The fifth benefit is removing obstacles. We first have to become aware of a thing in order to remove it in the first place. The sixth benefit is understanding relationship dynamics. We don't have to change the people in our lives. We have to become aware of ourselves and start from there, and everything changes. And the seventh benefit is upcoming transits, if that's something that you would like to look into because you're planning for something or you just want to be aware. So if you're interested in booking a numerology natal chart awareness coaching session or learning more about it, the link to book or the link to send me an email for questions are both within the description box below. When it comes to today's energy, so Jupiter is the ruler of the day, and Jupiter is in Gemini, of course, right where we left it since yesterday or the last time we spoke on it. And Jupiter in retrograde is a part of a T-square with Saturn. I hear or I see when I scroll through YouTube, people talk about this big event coming up with Jupiter and Saturn square, I guess when they get to the exact degree. But for me, you know, some might speak on it as if it's a negative thing, but I've never heard anybody speak on it. I just see the thumbnails. But like when I imagine it, even though it's a square and squares are challenging, to me it's beneficial in the sense that when I think of like, say, a chart where there's nothing but positive aspects, there's nothing but grand trines and positivity. Positivity is comfortable, it's great, but it's not the energy that's going to shake you up out of a comfortable situation and allow the change that you need. And when I think of the whole Saturn Pisces placement, and I've mentioned to you guys that that's one of my favorite transits, and Jupiter in Gemini because of the level of context that it brings to a place where there's normally not enough context. But when I look at the square between Jupiter and Saturn, even though it's a challenging aspect, for me, it's a good thing in the sense that there's a lot of us stuck in this cloud, this illusion when it comes to what it is that we want to do with our lives, how we want to live our lives and the experiences that we want to have. And when I think of a chart that's filled with nothing but positive aspects, it's like you're miserable in a situation, but everything just appears to work. So because everything works, there's no push to get out of it, do more and do better. Where with the challenging aspects, like say Saturn going to Pisces, with Saturn and Pisces slowing things down, a lot of us had to come to the realization of how we escape reality. A lot of us, our intuition became more clear because Saturn slowed things down so much to where there's boundaries in a place where there were no boundaries before. Pisces, everything gets lost in the 12th house where Pisces is concerned and Neptune is concerned. And Saturn came in there and put up some structure, some boundaries so that things don't just disappear and vanish into nothingness. So Saturn brings in boundaries, but the way Saturn brings in boundaries might not always be with the way how people expect it to be. Like, I consider myself to be a child of Saturn because Saturn conjuncts my sun, my Pluto, and my Mercury. And for me, I remember when I first started learning about astrology and I would just see, you know, people just speak the worst on it. But for me, it's like growth is going to be painful because it's different, because it's not what you're used to. And when I think of Saturn energy, I think of a coach. I think of that coach that says, F your feelings. You have goals to get from here to here, and I am here to help you. You know how, people say before this life, you made a contract to do this, that, or the next. Saturn is that coach that you made a contract with and woke up in this life and forgot you made a contract. And Saturn shows up to get you in shape, and you might kick and scream and want to remain the way things are. But with Saturn energy, Saturn's there to help you to become an authority over your own life, to help you to live life according to your own terms. Wherever Saturn is in your chart, best believe that area of your life, you have the ability to become some form of an authority over your own life, and even be some form of an example because of the resistance, the weightlifting, and everything you've experienced with Saturn transiting that area. So when I think of the whole, Saturn Jupiter square, and I think of the whole Saturn Jupiter square, and when I think of the whole Saturn Jupiter square energy, for me, it's something we're being challenged in some way, where something about the way how we escape reality, something about the way, maybe for some it's addictions, unconscious behaviors, the way we run from ourselves. When you run, how do you run from your reality? And with Jupiter in Gemini in retrograde is bringing so much context to your life, to the point that with this transit, we've all gained more understanding about either the foods we're consuming, because when I think of Gemini energy, Mercury, I think of being informed. And I think of how we inform our minds through the information we consume. I think of how we inform the cells within our bodies by the foods we consume. So with Jupiter energy there in Gemini in retrograde, there's so much context around the information you're consuming, how it's shaping your world. So much context around the food you're consuming and how it's shaping your world. So much context around your friendship dynamics, the people you've known for a long time, who you choose to hold on to, maybe because they're just familiar. Context about your family dynamic. And this energy brings in so much understanding, or it amplifies it, because Jupiter is that magnifying glass. So you got Jupiter and Gemini amplifying things so you could see it where before, you couldn't see because there was so much distraction and just hanging out on the surface. You got Saturn over in Pisces slowing things down and creating boundaries in a place where there was no structure, just everything disappears and flows off into wherever it goes. And both those energies are appear to be challenged, but to me, getting some kind of an upgrade, to the point where with that square, you come to a point in your life where you have no choice but to take accountability. Come to a point where you have no choice but to take accountability, in the sense that, okay, before I thought that this, that, and the next was the reason for this, that, and the next that I'm going through in my life. But I realized that, okay, yes, I may have been misinformed and guided to think a certain way, eat a certain way, be a certain way, but now I have context. Now I have understanding and awareness. So I now get to choose. I guess it's like the Matrix. Do you choose the red pill? Do you choose the blue pill? It's like, that's what I get from the Jupiter in Gemini retrograde and Saturn and Pisces, and them spurring each other. Some challenging, annoying, or frustrating things coming up in our lives that forces us to, do we stay stuck and miserable? Do you stay stuck and miserable, but know that you're choosing to do it to yourself? Because now I feel like that energy brings in a level of choice, where it's like, I know that this isn't good for me, and there's a level of addiction or whatever, and it's like, okay, do I choose this, or do I go get help? Do I make the changes that needs to be made to evolve up out of this situation? And the way it comes about, the way the realization comes about might not be in the most positive way, where for someone it might be that there's health issues, and that health issue pretty much is the square that wakes them up. For someone else, it might be, something with their relationship. It might be finances, but something is shooken up, or, some aspect of our lives brings our attention to how we need to do better based on being misinformed. Number one, with, Jupiter and Gemini, it's giving more context, is helping us to inform ourselves. So, it's showing us how to inform ourselves better. And then, like I said, Saturn and Pisces energy is helping us to, be more intuitive, because we're becoming, clear on what is a projection basis intuition, and also to how we can monetize our dreams, goals, and aspiration. Good things are coming from these challenging aspects is what I want to say. I feel like I could go on and on and on and on, but I'm not. But just to say, good things are coming from these challenging aspects. And a part of the T-square between Jupiter, Saturn is Gemini, is Mercury in Sagittarius. And with Mercury in Sag right now and Sun in Capricorn, you're going to get the itch, most of us, to go back to school and advance ourselves. Some of us will get the itch to go back to school or advance ourselves in some way and gain more status through higher education. And for some, that might be the right way to go because you are already learning something, and educating yourself on it will take it to the next level, and that's what you need. But for others of us, it might just be insecurities or wanting to be seen a certain way based on insecurities that might inspire all this. But with the square and Mercury being a part of the T-square, to me, we're also seeing with Mercury, the mind, how we pretty much put our attention on things as a form of escapism, opposed to, so to me, when it comes to this T-square energy brings our attention to how we run, how we escape, how we run and escape from our reality in different ways. But for me, every time I run, it sucks because the mess is always waiting for me. I gotta come back. You gotta come back. I think of like being a kid and seeing, say, a kid getting a spanking and maybe they run and go hide, and the parent is like, you gotta come back home. You gotta come back. You gotta come back. So it's like we run from our problems, whether we run through our treats, our snacks. Like, people forget that like addiction is not just like, oh, a person's addicted to crack or sniffing coke. Like, addiction is anything that it's like a crutch. It's like a form of escape. It's like a coping mechanism. It's like something to help us to shield or hide us from our reality. And it could be social media. It could be sweets. It could be alcohol. It could be weed. It could be anything. And I feel like this energy is bringing our awareness to all that. Today, Venus enters into Pisces. And with Venus, the planet of balance, value, love, finances, to name a few, entering into the space of Pisces energy. With Saturn there, I feel like it's a good thing. Good thing, because I just noticed something and I want to go double check. Okay, it's a good thing because we're valuing our intuition, valuing our imagination, because Venus is the valuing how, creativity, valuing the spiritual side of things. And with Saturn being there, Saturn creates the boundaries enough for you to see everything, where it's like the 12th house, Neptune, Pisces environment. I think of when I think of I gave this example before, but I imagine like the zodiac wheel and all of the placements, like going into this huge house. And within the house, there's a bunch of rooms and there's doors to all the rooms. The 12th house is that door that you open, and when you walk into it, it's like you walk into space. Like, there's no boundaries, there's no walls. You just, like, a place where you just disappear. It's like you walk off a ledge type of energy, because there's so much possibilities when it comes to that. But with Saturn creating structure in that space, we're able to become aware of things within our subconscious, within our unconscious mind, within the spiritual realms, within the 99% of reality that we don't perceive with our eyes. We're able to sense it and become aware of parts of it, with Saturn creating the boundaries, Venus going in there, and us valuing that side of ourselves, valuing that side of reality. So we have the Justice card came out in the reversal position. So with the Justice card coming out in the reversal position, it brings me back to what I was saying earlier about, so with the Justice in the upright position, it would say, okay, fairness, something worked out in a way that was fair and honest. In the reversal position, for me, it's saying that this this was unfair. And with the unfair thing, I go back to the example that I gave about two coworkers making an agreement, and say one doesn't follow through, and and one gets in trouble because of them not following through. And as it would seem unfair that, one gets in trouble because the other didn't follow through, it's like, was that just a verbal agreement between the two of them? Or did they, put it on paper and let the above, those who are above know that this was the agreement? I feel like with the justice thing in the reversal position, it's like making some kind of an agreement, but like I said, not following up and checking through, and then it just doesn't work out, and it's like, it's unfair. But at the same time too, your role in it was to check up on it to make sure. It's like the example that I gave about the salon, but like say, if it was a different situation and that my assistant is, say, the manager of the salon, manages the salon, is pretty much my second in command, is in charge of everything. Say in some cases, some would want to say, well, I don't know, some kind of I guess the example that I gave about the job and the two people making an agreement and one not following through, and then the other person gets in trouble for that person not following through. I feel like that's a good enough example that probably is going to click for most people. So the moon today the moon is in Aquarius. The moon is our inner world, our inner conversation. And it's in a space where it is positively aspecting Mercury in Sag and Jupiter in Gemini. So today is one of those days where we're nurtured at the thought of being social, going out and connecting with others. And I feel like something about the social aspect is some form of distraction for today. So like these two energies showing up, like I said, show up and make sure that you read the fine print, you dot your I's, cross your T's, you overlook, you double check on something. Something needs to be double checked on so that there's not a situation where it feels like this unfair thing happened. And it is unfair to a certain extent, but I guess with me being me and always seeing myself as the main character of my reality, and you should see yourself as the main character of your reality. I see myself as the one who is in charge of my reality, because we are in charge of our reality. Whenever things don't go right in my life, I can't help but ask myself, what is my role? And I guess this came from being in charge in the salon. As the owner, whenever things go wrong, it's always my fault. Like, no one tells me it's my fault, but I assume it's my fault. And when I say my fault, it doesn't mean I'm beating myself up or anything like that. But if I'm in charge and something goes wrong, when I say it's my fault, what I mean by that is if something goes wrong, it shows me that there's something about my system that isn't secure. So when I say it's my fault, what I mean by that is I'm operating from a system that needs to be rectified in some way. So whenever something goes wrong, it reflects my system. So this is where I need to go back and take a look at my system and see what I can learn from this thing that goes wrong so it doesn't have to happen again. And when I say my system in the salon, systems govern all aspects of our lives. So for me, I can't help but always question, what is my role in a thing? And when I look out into the world and I observe the people who seem to have peace in their lives and aspire to whatever success means to them, I see a pattern, and the pattern is accountability. They know that if it's going to be, it's up to me. Who did I hear say that? The guy from The Secret, he heard someone else say, if it's going to be, it's up to me. So when I observe the people who appear to be at peace in their life and living life according to their own terms, and the main characters and the bosses of their own world, there's major accountability because they know this is my world and I am responsible for what happens within it. And for me, being responsible means like, what can I learn from when things don't go right? It's not a matter of people beating themselves up, but it's like, okay, this didn't go right. It says something about my system, my approach to life. What can I learn from it? What can I learn from it in order to create more peace in my world? Yeah, in order to create more peace, because for me, that's what it comes down to. It comes down to peace. You guys, it was a pleasure sharing this message with you. Before you go anywhere, please let me know you're here with me by dropping me a yellow heart in the comment box below. I would love to hear from you and look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Love yourself as if your life depended on it, because it does. Take care of yourself, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.